Aloha, Sandra Razieli here. Today I'm going to share with you an exploration of squatting and particularly building some mobility for your squats. There's different aspects to squat, but two main ones are having the mobility to get things moving and the strength. So today we'll focus on the mobility. But before we start, I'd like you to, well, it actually is a start, is to check out how your squat is feeling. So, of course, don't do anything that causes harm. Be careful, mindful of your knees and ankles. Don't push yourself too far. I just want you to see what you feel like right now before we start the practice, how it is for you to squat down and up. And you might not go that far. You might go a little bit here. Doesn't matter. Just see where you're at. And I'd like you to do this again. And this time notice what part of your body maybe feels a constraint. Is there something in your ankle, something in your knee? And then one more time, this time instead of necessarily feeling the constraint, can you see something? Look at your knees, look at your ankles. Does something turn in? I know my left ankle collapses a little faster than my right ankle. I'm not going to go as far that time. I'm going to notice that and come up. So just so you have a sense of where you're at before we begin. And then let's start in mountain pose. So find your mountain pose, feet grounding, spine lengthening. Bring your hips over your heels. Let's do a couple shoulder circles. Shoulders up and back and down and again. Up, back, and down. Notice that your breath is flowing. Go ahead and close your eyes. Bring your palms together over your heart. As you press your palms in towards each other, firm your shoulder blades. Notice that you're breathing. Let your eyes be soft if that feels good. To close them, go ahead. And gently guide your breath. Then place your arms by your side. Roll your arms so your palms face forward. And gently let the light in by opening your eyes. Good. And roll your shoulders again. So there are a lot of different joints in the body and a lot of different joints that are needed for squat mobility. That's why it's a great diagnostic. I mean, it's great to be able to squat because you can get up and down more easily and make your way around in the world, but it's also a great diagnostic to get a sense of where you're tight. Very commonplace. I'm grabbing my half roller because I'm going to ask you to grab something too. The very common place to be tight is the calves. Right? So when we squat, our knees bend forward, our hips are also hinging. And as we do that, you can see that there's a lot of length required in the calves. So that's why many people take their heels up when they squat, because they just don't have that length. Part of that is from being in heeled shoes, because when you're in heeled shoes, look what happens to your calves. Right? They get shorter. So good to lengthen them with the calf stretch. I have yet to know anybody who's done too many of these. I'll let you know if I meet somebody. But for now, let's start by taking your right foot up on your lift. Have the left foot next to it and come back to mountain pose where you bring your hips over your heels. Right? Find your alignment points. Lower ribs, hip points, pubic bone in line with each other as much as possible. That's going to give you a maximum calf stretch, and you don't have to bend your knee. You don't have to do different manifestations of manipulative actions. Just standing can give you a nice calf stretch. And breathing, let the shoulder blades release. And if you feel that you're not quite feeling it, or it releases a little, you might take the other foot a little bit forward. So eventually, I'm not there yet, but eventually the calf gets stretched so much that the opposite leg, the one that's not on the lift, can actually be in front of the leg that's on the lift. That's actually very useful for walking. Having more length in your calf helps with your gait as well. Okay, go ahead and release that. Take a moment. And then second side. So take your left foot on up. Hips over heels. Drop the ribs. Hip points, pubic bone. For me, I tend to tuck my pelvis a little much, so I'm always trying to remember that pubic bone, which gives me a little nicer lumbar curve, which supports my neck. Taking a time to breathe with the calf stretch. Let the shoulders be released, spine lengthen, jaw soften. And then let that go. And put the lift off to the side. And take a moment with your feet as parallel as feels comfortable to bend the knees, take the hips back, and bring your awareness to the calves and just encourage them to lengthen. If your hands reach them easily, go ahead and place your hands on them. Just rub them a little. Encourage them to lengthen. Don't have to go all the way down. Just getting that length. Come back on up. So you may have noticed that when we bend the knees, we bend the hips, the ankles are moving too. So let's do a few ankle movements to get those joints opening a little bit more. So I'm going to start with just a little bit of ankle tilting. When we squat, we're not going to be tilting a lot when we squat with the feet parallel, but doing these ankle tilts helps activate the muscles of the legs. So let's start by taking your left foot backwards a little bit, and then so you have your right foot in front, and then tilt the ankle out to the side. We'll do 3 times. So that's lateral. Then take your left foot out to the side a little more and tilt your right ankle inwards. Now, as with everything, don't do something that feels like it causes harm. Many people have different things going in their ankles. So one position, you might just skip it, right? Take your left foot back, externally rotate your right leg, and do a little bit the outer ankle. And then internally rotate the leg, and still doing the outer ankle, just in different positions, giving your brain information to let those muscles activate in the different positions. All right, and stand up. Maybe feel the difference. One ankle a little more alive and aware. Second side. Take your right foot back, and then tilt to the outer side. And then take your right foot next a little wider and tilt, inner tilt. Working on moving the ankle, not so much the leg. Your leg is going to move a little bit, but we're really trying to not move it too much. Take your right foot back, externally rotate your leg, and tilt. And then internally rotate the leg, and tilt again. Good. Okay. Back to mountain pose. Go ahead and shift your weight a little forward and back. It's also using the ankles. Encourage your feet to stay as parallel as works for your body. Okay, and then my new favorite thing is ankle circles with your ball of the foot touching the floor. So this one requires some concentration and also some balance. So if your balance is not secure, even a little bit insecure with the balance, go ahead and hold on to something. I'll model for you, because this way you can really pay attention to the foot and not have to worry about balance. So what you're going to do is you're going to come onto the ball of your toes with your heel lifted. So the bottom of the toe, the ball of the foot, heel lifted, and just open up the front of the ankle by lifting the heel, and then lower your heel without lowering the knee. So there's a little bit of movement, not a lot. The ankle, open it, close it by lowering the heel. You're not straightening the leg, so the heel doesn't touch the ground. One more time. Okay, so now we're going to go side to side. So when you go side to side, it's not maybe usually a movement. I want you to make it small. Keep the ball of your foot on the floor. Keep your heel lifted, and just take your ankle a little out to the side laterally. and then bring it back to center, and now bring it medially. Okay. So part of this might help you access. I feel it on the outer edges of my calf when I go back and forth. I've done this a few times today, so now it's feeling a little bit easier, side to side. Okay, and then release that. Wiggle your toes. Second side. Take your foot. Lift the heel. Lower the heel. Lift. Lower. Lift. Lower. Now keep the heel lifted. Take the ankle out to the left and then a little to the right. Again, to the left, to the right, left, and right. Back to center. Now I did call this ankle circles, and we haven't really done a circle, but I bet you might have figured out that. That's what's coming next. So ball of the foot, and then go lateral. Back. Remember, heel doesn't come onto the floor. Ball of the foot stays on the floor. Medial and up a few times. Just circling round. Going slow is actually good. I'm really loving this movement lately. Go the other direction. It's also a great thing to do before you go for a walk. It's good for developing balance, because when our ankles are stiff and we walk on something unstable, we don't have the mobility, and then we just kind of fall. Okay, second side. Left foot up, to the side, back, inside, round and round. And then switch directions. And then release. Okay, so since we're still standing, let's do another calf stretch. I hope I don't drive you crazy with calf stretches, but they make a huge difference. So I just need to press a button to keep going. Thank you for your patience. Okay, first side. Take the right foot up. A little bit of length in the calf. Other thing about this is that when you do the calf stretch this way, you see how you're closing the ankle, which is also a movement that you need to do to squat. So that ankle closing down, the joint, in other words, flexing the joints coming closer to each other as the calf stretches. Breathe. Feel free to use something for balance. Okay, and then release that. We won't do it as long this time. And second side. Find the balance, find the stretch. Encourage your quadriceps to release here. That's a big one. That's a tough one. The quads tend to engage a lot when we do these calf stretches. Can you let the quads let go? All right, and then release that. All right, you can put your lift off to the side. Let's check out the squat now. After just doing the calf stretches and the ankle movements, how does it feel? Begin to come down. Just as far as you can keep your heels on the ground. All right, what's going on there? And then make your way back up. Roll your shoulders a few times. All right. So since this is a yoga-based movement class, always important to lengthen the spine. Let's take a little spine stretch moment. You can grab a chair, a railing, or make up your own. I'm going to grab here and just take your feet backwards. Bend your knees a little bit. Get the length in your spine. Breathe. I'm curious, if you don't have anything, what's it like to pretend that something is there? I think you could still try that. Bend your knees, imagine you're holding on to something, and then slowly extend the legs. Harder to extend the legs here. And then to come up, take a step forward, lift your up, and circle. All right. So now grab your 2 blocks and bring them out in front of your mat, the lengthwise part of your mat. Just have them there for a moment, and take your legs wide. Have your feet parallel to each other. Time for big asana. Now we've got our spine long. Let's create a little more space and width. Feet grounding, spine lengthening. Roll your arms so your palms face up towards the ceiling. Breathe. So another element in squatting is this crease at the top of the thigh. So I'd like you to deepen that crease at the top of the thigh by lifting your hip sockets up and hinging forward. Once you get there, take your hands on the blocks. We're not coming to forward fold now, because that's a little calming on the nervous system in the ways that I don't want us to experience right now. So just decrease at the top of the thigh, and then, keeping the feet as parallel as possible, bend your knees, keep deepening the crease at the top of the thigh. Lift and widen your sit bones. And then move towards straightening your legs. Bring your hands to your hips, come back up. And then let's bend the knees, but keep the spine long. You won't be able to go nearly as far. Just play with that. Hurt your knees at all, stop. It's not a common movement. Come back up. Turn your heels in, your toes out. You may find this a little bit easier. Right? Grand plie. Deepening the crease at the top of your thigh. Come back up. Walk your feet together, back into mountain pose. You can put the blocks off to the side. We won't need them anymore, or not for a little while. Feet grounding, spine lengthening. Take your feet now hips distance apart. A few hip circles, but when we do the hip circles, again, I want you to feel the crease at the top of the thigh, this hinge. So we go forward, to the right, and we feel that hinge when we go around to the back, left, and up. And again, 2 more times. As you're doing these hip circles, it also requires ankle mobility. And switch directions. Back to center. Take a mountain pose with your feet together. Requires a little bit more balance to do that. Let's take the legs wide again. Still a little bit more opening in the hips while we're standing. Turn your left leg in from the thigh. Turn the right leg out from the thigh. Feel your feet grounding on, spine lengthening up, and then deepen the crease at the top of the thigh, which is another way to make the knee bend, and come back up. Just a few times towards a classic Virabhadrasana 2 position, up and down. Notice that when your foot is stable and you bend the thigh, you have to bend the knee. You can't bend the thigh without bending the knee. So it's an example of how building and developing a squat will help your standing poses, because you're creating more mobility in the joints and strength in the different positions. So today we're working on, we're going towards squatting, but I want you to recognize that it's not just because you've been able to do a squat. It has effects on everything. Second side, right leg in, left leg out, bending and straightening. Keep your spine long as you go. come back up. Walk your feet together. Mountain pose. And it's time to come down to the floor. So on the floor, I'm going to have you use a strap and make your way down the floor, whatever way works for you, but just pay attention. Maybe squat. See what that's like to do that. My left ankle's a little happier now. All right, so go ahead and lie down on your back. Take your strap. Make sure you have space to move your arms, to move your legs. Go ahead, extend your legs onto the floor. Take your arms overhead, holding onto the strap. We'll do just a little reach and stretch with the arms. As you do that, keep the rib cage steady. Find the length in your spine without compromising the ribs. And then as you do that, reach through your heels. Open up the spaces between your toes. And then point your toes. And then reach through your heels again. Nice inhalation. As you exhale, bring your right knee into your chest. Lasso the strap around your foot. And take your right leg up and away. So for now, let your left leg be relaxed. We're just opening up the back of the right leg. There's different ways to do this pose. Keep your shoulder blades firm. Reach your heel up towards the ceiling. Now you might feel the back of the leg a little bit more. Intention right now is to help us feel into the calf muscle. Breathe. Get that back of the leg going. And then cross the strap. As you cross the strap, pull a little bit more with your left hand. So accessing a little bit different places in the calf. Breathe. Okay. And then release by bending your right knee. Place your right foot on the floor, feel the legs next to each other. And second side. So bring your left knee towards the chest, take the strap around your left foot. Leg goes up and away. Foot into strap, strap into foot. Let the back of the calf open up. Reach through your heel. Breathing. Let yourself feel into the back of the leg. Encourage the extension. So not by pressing the knee back, but by lengthening through the whole leg. And then cross the strap. Give a little more pull with your right hand. Breathing. And then release, bend the knee. Good. Let's come back. Well, actually, let's do a little bit of a twist first. We haven't done much twisting yet. So bend your knees, take your feet as wide as your mat, take your arms out to the side, Elvis twist. Take your left knee towards your right foot. Let the right knee go out to the side. As you spiral the legs to the right, upper body spirals to the left. Inhale, come up. Exhale to the other side. Inhale, come back up. All right. And now we're going to focus a little more on deepening the crease at the top of the thigh. So bring your right knee to your chest again. swing the strap around your foot, and this time keep the left leg active. Keep the left leg active, reaching through the left heel. Take the strap around, both ends of the strap into your left hand. Take your right thumb to your right hip point. And kind of a little external rotation at the top of the right thigh. Begin to draw the right leg towards your chest. So you're deepening the crease at the top of the thigh, being careful to not hike your hip. Go back and forth a few times. So really feeling where that thigh crease is. It's actually a movement of the thigh bone in the hip socket. You might find that after you do it a few times, you have a little bit more range of motion. Okay, and then release the right leg. Let it go. Second side. Left knee in towards your chest. Take the strap over your foot. Keep the right leg pretty active. Both ends of the strap into your right hand, left thumb at the top of the hip point. Wrap your hand around the outer left hip so it doesn't hike up when you bring your leg closer towards your chest. A few times back and forth. And then release. Let that go. Take an exhalation, feel the leg. Okay. So now, bend both knees and lift your right foot off the floor and make a staircase with the legs. I just want you to pay attention to how we bend from different places, and sometimes we're restricted in one area and not so much another. So you can use a strap for this. Take the strap around the back of your foot, your thigh, and then without moving your thigh, extend the leg. And then bend the leg again to a right angle. So just a few times, feeling the movement. It's actually, a lot of this has to do with the hamstrings. If you're not moving the thigh into your chest. So you might feel the hamstrings moving on the back of your leg. Right, so that's one movement. Now, other movement is bringing the thigh to your chest, doing that without moving the lower leg. Thigh into the chest, so keeping the right angle. So you may notice that one of these is easier for you than the other. Release that. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Take the strap around your left thigh. Press the strap into the thigh and extend the leg. And bring it back down. Working at keeping the thigh stable, just moving from the lower leg, which means you're moving the knee joint. And now keep your lower leg stable. Take your upper leg a little forward and back, deepening the crease at the top of the thigh. And then release. Might feel good to bring your knees together. Take your soles of your feet together. Take your knees wide. Try that for a moment. Breathe. And bring your knees back up. So now let's put them together. So go ahead and keep your left knee bent. Extend your right leg. And you see what a squat is, it's bending both at the same time. So you bend the knee and the thigh at the same time towards your chest. And then extend again. Now the tendency when we do this, you may begin to feel that in order for the knee to go deeper into the chest, I'm going to exaggerate, you might press the left foot down or you might round the back. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to really get the movement just from the legs. So you want to keep your lumbar curve, keep a little space under your lower back, which for me it means I go about this far. Because there is a shift that happens. And when you're squatting, it's okay to have that shift. But right now, I don't want you to have that shift. And also, what the idea is to kind of change where that shift happens eventually. Okay, one more time, right knee, right thigh, they move together. And then let's try the second side. So start with the left leg extended, thigh crease, knee bend, keeping the lower back stable, not rounding. Thigh crease, knee bend. Okay, and then release. Okay, a little tetrasana. Move things around, be a little playful. You might come up a little, side to side. Like, what if you could swim in water and move like this? That would be great. Okay, let's come over to the side and kind of put what we just did in that direction, do it coming from the opposite direction. By that I mean we're going to come onto your hands and knees, onto all fours, and move towards a squat. But as you're here, I want you to be mindful not to round the back. So we are just folding at the knees and the hips. At some point, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, I'll demonstrate right now. At some point, as you go further back, there comes to be a point where, I'm going to exaggerate, in order to fold, you see how the back is rounding here? I want you not to go into that right now. To find the spot where you just are creasing the thigh, bending the knee. For me, it's, I think, right about there. If I go any further, let's see. Yeah, if I go any further, I'm going to lose my lumbar curve. So go back and forth a few times, not maintaining your lumbar curve as you go. All right. And then your choice, puppy pose or downward facing dog. I'm going to come into downward facing dog, take your knees up, reach your hips back. Those are in dog pose. Take a look at your feet. Encourage them to be parallel. And very slowly move towards straightening your legs. Press your thighs back. Encourage your spine to stay long. Remember all that opening in the calves. So lengthen the calves as you press your thighs back. Stay breathing. You may find that you want to widen your stance a little. All right, and then come down into child's pose. So child's pose, fold of the knee, fold of the hip. It's really like a lying down squat. Exhale. And then inhale up to sitting. So this fold right here of how my knee and leg come together is very important for a squat, because if I'm like this, squatting, or ultimately same position here, and sometimes that fold is very challenging. So a great way to work with that is to release the calf a little more through D-muck ausen. Get the muck out of the back of your leg. So D-muck ausen is more of a self-massage. Take your left knee onto your right calf. You can be on your hands, you can be on your forearms. As you're here, press down with either the hands or forearms so your shoulder blades stay wide. You can let your head hang though. And just let the knee be on the calf. Find a spot where it's like, oh, there's some tension there. Exhale, let that tension release. One layer at a time. Now, if you find this too intense, you can always do this lying down on your back, placing your calf on top of your knee. Over time, if you do this regularly for a while, the calves really do start to open up, and it gives you so much more freedom in walking, and also the feet feel better. So I highly recommend it. All right, find another spot. I like to stay in just one spot and kind of let it melt a little bit. And another spot. And sometimes getting kind of on the sides, not just the center, can be really good. Finding another spot. All right, one more spot. Pick a good one. Ah. All right, and then release. Come back into child's pose and notice the fold of your leg. Is it a little different on the right side than the left? You might actually find that there's less pressure on the knee, because sometimes that pressure that we get on the knee is from tightness in the calf. Okay, second side. Hooray! Dexterity. Knee onto calf. Exhale. Find another spot. Find another spot. Another spot. One last spot. Clearly, this could be something you could, hanging out, watching TV, listening to a podcast. Sometimes it's nice to do it, like, not necessarily a few days in a row or every other day for a week or two, and then you really get good results. It's something I go back to every so often. I don't do it all the time, but when I go back to it, it lasts for a long time. All right, release, child's pose. All right, and then come up to sitting. And we're going to play a little with this fold. If this does not feel good on your knees, I'm going to suggest you do dexterity a little bit more, or do leg stretches or downward facing dog. But don't force this. If it does not feel good to sit like this with your fold of the legs, please do something else. But don't leave class. Keep practicing. Okay, so for those of you who feel comfortable like this, what I'd like you to do is to lean forward a little bit, tuck your toes under, and we'll open up the backs of the feet. You can really get those toes tucking under. And then take your hands out in front and keep the fold of your legs. Lift your knees up. So you're coming onto the toes, keeping the fold of the legs coming onto the toes. You might play with balance. And then bring the legs back down. And then let's do that again. Lift the knees up. Now keep the fold of the legs. You might even hug your knees. And very slowly lengthen your calves that you were just opening up. Maybe they'll come towards the floor. Maybe not. Can you go slowly? Like for me, there's that last bit where I don't have as much control. That's something I'll want to work on. And then, whoop, come back up. Again, that's another thing to work on, to be able to do that with control. So come back onto the toes, lower the heels. Sometimes you could help with balance is just hold onto your mat. Make that transition a little slower. All right, and then come all the way down to sitting. And those of you who are doing something else, come join us in sitting. Sit up on a little height. And Dandasana. From Dandasana, make sure you have a little height in Dandasana. And you may notice the sun has decided to come up and make some nice little patterns here. Maybe they'll help with the squat. Anyway, so let's go ahead and bend your right knee. And as you do that, take your hand to the back of your calf. Rub in that area a little bit where we did that Dimakasana. Get a little bit more because we're focusing on getting this nice fold here. How the calf folds into the thigh. And from there, lengthen your spine. Preparing to twist. Inhale nice and long. Exhale, let your shoulder blades release. Next exhalation, begin to spiral. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, spiral. Keep going at your own pace. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, spiral. Keeping that deep crease at the top of the thigh, getting into your belly. At the very end, go ahead and turn your head. One more inhalation. When you're ready for your exhalation, go ahead, unwind, back to center, back to Dandasana. Wiggle the toes a few times. And second side. Deepen the crease at the top of the thigh, bending the knee. Take your thumb to the back of your calf. Open up a little bit. Feel some of those places. Maybe it's a little less tight, but still, when you widen the calf, you can get a deeper fold of the thigh. One-legged squat, really, right? Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, spiral. Taking your time. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, spiral. Again, inhale, lengthen. Exhale, spiral. Taking your time incrementally up the spine. If you've got some special concavities, convexities, work with them here. One more inhalation. On your exhalation, go ahead, unwind. Keep your spine nice and long. Take your feet out in front. And then let's come into Baddha Konasana for a moment. Just feel, so you can notice Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, often known as cobbler's pose. Some people call it butterfly pose, but I actually do not recommend fluttering. That's not great for your inner groins. But notice this pose is so much about this fold of the legs, right? Just like in a squat. Some people love this pose. Some people really don't like this pose. All right, then bring your knees together. And let's transition to downward facing dog. So come onto your hands and knees. Tuck your toes under. Lift your knees up. Reach your hips back. And then slowly move towards straightening your legs. Find the length in the spine that's appropriate for you. The distance of the feet and the arms. And then child's pose. Again, feeling the fold, flattening the calves against the hamstrings, folding over your thighs. And inhale, come back up to sitting. So I want to show you, for those of you who find it very challenging to sit on your heels, you can practice by sitting on something a little higher, getting a little height. Some people call this a telephone book pose. If you do it every day, put a telephone book, you remember what those are, some of you. And each day you take away a page, one at a time. So one page at a time. And then over time your calves get longer and you can come onto the floor. Oh, here's another thing you can do. You can sit on the block and play with the fold as well. So since we're here, sitting, squatting, I want you to play with a little bit of a one-legged squat, which is extending one leg, just like we did in Dandasana. But now the challenge is to come off the block, maybe use your hands, lift your leg up. I find, for me, I can't quite get my heel down, but I can balance, whoa, on the ball of my toes. For a little bit at least. Whoop. Okay, let's try second side. Reach through the heel like we did on Dandasana. Nice fold of the legs. Shift the weight forward. This side's a little easier for me. I can do it on my heel. That's interesting. Whoa, hanging out. And then come on down. All right, just play with it a little. Move your arms along, legs around a little bit. Move your shoulders around a little bit. Let's make your way up to standing. Check out how the squat is doing now. So mountain pose. Feet grounding, spine lengthening. We've done a lot to work on the crease of the thigh, the crease of the knee. What's it feel like now from standing? Take your hips back, bending at the knee. Utkatasana position, and come back up. Take your arms up. Check out your Utkatasana. Hips back, knees. And then play with going as far as feels comfortable. Take your arms out in front, slowly coming down. And then make your way back up. Good. Take your feet a little bit wider, a few hip circles. 3 to the right, 3 to the left. Come back to center. Since we spent a lot of time on that fold, let's play with that fold in a classic pose in tree pose. So take a moment to find your balance, feet grounding, spine lengthening. And for today, I'd like you to lift your right leg up, take your thumbs to the back of the calf, and get a deep fold of the leg first. Once you get that fold, then transition to Vrikshasana, foot below or above the knee. Take a moment, breathe. And then to release, bring the knee out in front. Take your time, bring the leg on down. And second side. So shift the weight onto your right leg, bend the left knee, take your thumbs to the calf, and opening up the back of the calf as you bring the calf to the thigh. Back into Vrikshasana. And then release. From mountain pose, take your feet wide. Let's come back. What we did at the very beginning of class, we did a little moving towards Virabhadrasana 2. Let's actually come into Warrior 2. So left leg in, right leg out. Inhale, take your arms on up. Remember, we're creasing at the thigh, creasing at the knee, coming into the posture. Now you might find that maybe you bring your thigh a little deeper than you did earlier. We've been working on that mobility, hip, knee, ankle, a lot of mobility necessary for that. Other side, come on up, left leg, right leg in, left leg out. Deep crease at the top of the thigh. Right, in certain traditional systems of modern postural yoga, there's a big push to bring this thigh parallel to the floor, which is pretty challenging. come up, reach through the back leg. Inhale, come up. Turn the right leg and left leg forward. And let's hinge onto the ground. If you have your blocks, you can go ahead and bring them out in front. I have my half roller. Just the eye bones back, spine lengthening. Take a few breaths. Maybe readjust the feet. Lengthen the spine forward. All right, and then let your spine release towards the floor, however feels good for you today. Take your time with your breath. And then to come up, bend your knees a little bit. Maybe walk your feet a little closer if that helps. Inhale, come up. Walk your feet together. Last mountain pose for this practice. Feet grounding, spine lengthening. And then bring a little flow. We did a lot of angle folding things. So now is a great time to flow. Flow around and down. Flow in a circle. Flow your way around. And then pay attention to how you make your way onto the floor. Perhaps try squatting. All right? Make your way on down. Lie on your backs. Let's get a nice long reach and stretch. Make sure you have enough space here. Inhale your arms overhead. Go ahead and interlace the fingers. Reach your arms. Reach the feet. Full breaths. Good, and then release your arms. Go ahead, bend your knees. Let's bring the knees into the chest today since we've been doing that fold. Be careful here again, not to over round, not to round into a deep flexion, but have a little space under your lumbar curve. Arms out to your side like a cactus. And then take your knees over to the right slowly. Be careful here, the tendency is for the left knee to drag behind the right, so encourage the knees to move together. Taking your time into the twist. Inhale and exhale. And then inhale, bring your knees up. Bring them into your chest. And towards your chest and second side. Again, keep the right knee, the left knee staying with each other. That will help you really get a full twist in this position instead of just a spinal roll. And inhale, come back up. Extend your legs on the floor, take your feet by the side. It's time for Shavasana, relaxation. Let your breath flow. Let the flow of the breath be your guide to Shavasana. And then slowly and gently bring your awareness back to your body, back to your breath. Bring a little movement to your fingers, bring a little movement to your toes. Reach a little through your arms, reach a little through your legs. And then bend your knees. Roll over to your side. And make your way up to sitting. Just feel the folds of the legs as you feel your sit bones ground down, spine lengthened up. Bring your palms together over your hearts. And may the folding, the explorations of mobility support you to experience greater agility, as well as comfort, ease, joy, and freedom. Namaste. And if you can hear, the wind is blowing with us as well. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this class. You know, we all have different abilities to squat based on a number of things. One is the actual aspect of our bone structure, and how, of course, how we've been using our body throughout our lives. Take it slow. What we did today really focused on the mobility aspects of opening up the joints. Another class that will be forthcoming will be more about the strength, because you also need a lot of strength to go up and down. This combination of strength and mobility was really important for so many aspects of movement. So once again, thanks for watching. Mahalo, and till next time. Aloha.